Travelled a fair long way to get here. I'm in Newcastle, checking out this lovely warehouse towards the back. I'll let you know more about it as I go through.
What is Return and Earn? Return and Earn is a scheme whereby you collect eligible drink containers, take them to one of Vinnie's depots, and receive a cash refund for your recycling efforts.
I wonder if it's the Sydney developers and builders that are pushing up some of these prices. I'm back in front of the computer now, and I want to quickly explain why I inspected this property in the first place. Now, the property was up for sale, and one of the main reasons why I was attracted to this property was obviously the tenant. So Vinnie's, as we know, is a blue chip tenant. But the more important reason is that Vinnie's actually, according to these numbers, they're paying under market rent. So the current rent they're paying is $139,000. They're occupying about 1,300 square meters of building, which I'll show you in a second is under market rent. So there's a good opportunity to obviously increase the rent. Now, even better, they have a lease expiry in July 2024, only a few months away, and there's no option, which means that we can definitely reposition the property in terms of rental and hit Vinnie's with a market review and bringing the rent up to market value. So what does that actually look like? So as you can see, based on the current rent, Vinnie's paying about $106 per square meter. And based on some of this leasing evidence, we can see that the market rent is much higher than $106 per square meter. Now, looking at some of the recent sales evidence as well, we can very quickly formulate a view on what the market rent and market selling price or market value of this property is. So we've adopted conservatively that the market rent for this property is somewhere between $130 to $140 per square meter, and the market value should be somewhere between $2,200 to $2,700 per square meter. Now, we felt that the property would be a good acquisition up to $2.6 million. Now, the property was sold via an online auction, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. So based on a $2.6 million acquisitions price, it represents pretty good value. Now, as I mentioned, Vinnie's lease expires in July, which means we can hit them with a market review, and we can probably get somewhere between $130 to $140 per square meter, which represents somewhere between $170,000 to $180,000 in rent, which is significantly higher than what they're currently paying. So how does it stack up from a feasibility perspective? Now, if we were to buy the property up to $2.6 million, we will obviously be up for some stamp duty and closing costs and legal costs and all that type of stuff. So all up, you'll be paying about $2,737,000 for the acquisition. Now, if we're able to renew the lease with Vinnie's, then a lot of these leasing costs would obviously just fall away. But when we do our feasibility, we want to be ultra conservative. So we've assumed, based on our feasibility, that Vinnie's will move out because they don't want to pay this rent. Now, the probability of that happening is quite low, but obviously for our feasibility, we want to assume the worst case scenario. Now, according to the agent, when we're going through this property, Vinnie's have already put up the hand and say, hey, we want to stay. And there's a bit of a twist to this, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, assuming come July, Vinnie's don't want to stay and we have to find a new tenant, then we're going to be up for some leasing costs. So obviously there'll be some commission leasing costs paid to the agent for leasing the property. There's probably about 10% incentive they need to offer a new tenant. Obviously there's going to be some interest payments along the way while we own a property. We've accounted for about $50,000 in make good, which I think we don't need to, because Vinnie's have a pretty good make good clause in their lease, but we've we've budgeted for $50,000 just in case. There's some outgoings, and obviously some of that leasing cost will be offset by some of the rental that we're receiving over the next sort of 6 months or so. So all up, if we had to release the property to a new tenant, we're up for just shy of $3 million in total project cost. Now, based on these assumptions, the new valuation of the property would sit somewhere around $3,650,000, which will represent a net profit based on cost, not based on the purchase price, net profit of somewhere around $680,000. So it's not bad for 6 months worth of work. As you can see from the screen, the property was sold via an online auction, and my client went up to $2.6 million. However, we got outbidded, and the property ended up selling for $2.9 million. And here's the twist: the buyer ended up being Vinnie's themselves. So they blew us out of the water by $300,000 because they have a vested interest to stay in this property. So unfortunately, we missed out on this one, but hopefully this video explains some of the process and approach in how we find these potential value add properties. And look, if you like this video, then please subscribe or give me a thumbs up so that you can see more of these videos as I post them. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.